When a snake's skin becomes old and hardened, it can shed its outer layer completely, like taking off a sock. This process is called molting and helps the animal not only grow but also get rid of parasites and damaged skin. A few days before molting, the snake's color fades and its eyes turn cloudy. This is a sign that fluid is building up between the old and new layers of skin. When its vision clears, the snake rubs its head against rocks or branches to tear the skin near its mouth and slowly crawl out of it. Beneath the old layer lies a new, shiny, and elastic skin, ready to protect it until the next molt. You're watching smartpizza, and in this episode you'll discover new species of crocodiles, mutant animals and creatures that look like they escaped straight from science fiction movies. Deep in the mangroves of Madagascar, along the wild rivers of Papua New Guinea, and across the turquoise waters of the Caribbean, scientists have stumbled upon a revelation that flips the crocodile family tree upside down. At least 4 previously unknown species of crocodiles have been confirmed, each genetically and physically distinct. In Madagascar, a thick-bodied crocodile with dark, armor-like scales and a powerfully curved jaw was discovered stalking the swamps. Thousands of miles east, a lean, fast-moving croc was found in Papua New Guinea's rushing inland rivers, agile, territorial, and behaviorally unique. A separate team of researchers studying crocodile populations on Cozumel Island and Banco Chinchorro Atoll, off the coast of Mexico, made a discovery that challenges one of the longest-standing beliefs in herpetology: the idea that the American crocodile is a single species. New DNA evidence and skull measurements revealed these isolated island populations aren't just regional variants. They are entirely new species, hidden in plain sight. The breakthrough came after years of fieldwork. Crocodiles were humanely captured, samples were taken, and the animals were released unharmed. Back in the labs, researchers sequenced DNA and analyzed bone structure. The results were undeniable: significant genetic and morphological differences. But this isn't just a victory for science, it's a warning. Both island species number fewer than 1,000 adults. This discovery forces a new way of thinking, not just about crocodiles, but about evolution, isolation, and how much more nature might be hiding in plain sight. There's one reptile on this planet that stands above the rest, literally. The saltwater crocodile isn't just big, it's colossal. Adult males can reach lengths over 20 feet and weigh nearly a ton. This modern titan is the largest reptile alive today. Found from eastern India through Southeast Asia to northern Australia, the saltwater crocodile dominates estuaries, mangroves, and even open sea channels. Yes, these reptiles can swim hundreds of miles in saltwater using ocean currents. They've been spotted far offshore, silently drifting beneath waves like prehistoric submarines. What makes them even more impressive is their bite. The saltwater crocodile has the strongest bite force ever measured in any animal, over 3,700 pounds per square inch. That's more than enough to crush bone, shell, or even the hull of a small wooden boat. Their skull is a tank, engineered to grab and not let go. But it's not just raw power. These crocodiles are stealth masters. Despite their size, they approach prey silently, hidden just beneath the water's surface. Then, one sudden lunge and it's over. They're also shockingly intelligent. Salties have been known to learn the patterns of fishermen and avoid traps. Some have even been seen using sticks as bait, balancing them on their snouts to lure in birds during nesting season. That's strategy, not just instinct. While their numbers are stable in some parts of Australia, saltwater crocodiles are under pressure in many areas due to habitat loss and illegal hunting. But they're a vital part of their ecosystems, keeping populations of fish, pigs, and even buffalo in check. This is an animal that hasn't changed much since the time of the dinosaurs. And when you see one staring back with that ancient, unreadable expression, it's easy to understand why. Evolution didn't need to upgrade the saltwater crocodile, it got it right the first time. Among all crocodilians, the gharial looks like it stepped straight out of mythology. Its impossibly long, narrow snout filled with more than 100 sharp, interlocking teeth is like something dreamed up by a creature designer for Game of Thrones. But the gharial is real, and it's one of the most unusual reptiles on Earth. Native to the rivers of northern India and Nepal, the gharial is perfectly adapted for life in water. Its snout, which ends in a bulbous growth called a gara on adult males, slices through river currents like a blade. And those needle-like teeth? Built for gripping slippery fish, its main diet. Unlike other crocodiles, the gharial's legs are weak and poorly suited for walking on land. It almost never leaves the water unless basking in the sun or nesting. But in the water, it's a torpedo. Fast, flexible, and near impossible to catch. Its body is long and narrow, reducing drag and allowing it to make sudden turns while hunting in fast-moving rivers. Despite its incredible design, the gharial is in serious trouble. Fewer than 1,000 are left in the wild. Once found in dozens of rivers across the Indian subcontinent, it now survives in just a few. Dams, sand mining, and shrinking river habitats have pushed it to the edge. Conservation programs are underway, including hatcheries that release young gharials into protected zones, but survival is far from guaranteed. Still, people are fascinated by it. In Indian folklore, gharials were believed to guard sacred rivers. Their unusual snout even inspired religious carvings and temple art. Scientists also study the male's gara, a bizarre nasal structure that may help amplify vocalizations during mating season, a rare trait among reptiles. It may not be the strongest or most aggressive of crocodiles, but the gharial stands out with a style all its own. In the world of ancient predators, it's proof that sometimes the strangest designs are the most specialized and the most at risk of vanishing forever. Deep in the rainforests of West Africa, where sunlight barely reaches the ground and everything moves in shadows, lives the smallest and one of the most mysterious members of the crocodile family, the dwarf crocodile. Rarely exceeding 5 feet in length, this reptile is a master of stealth. It's built for the undergrowth, with a short snout, heavily armored body, and an unusually secretive nature. Locals sometimes refer to it as the Black Spirit, due to its dark, rugged scales and habit of silently slipping into water the moment danger approaches. The dwarf crocodile is unlike its larger cousins. It doesn't rely on brute strength or high-speed ambushes. It's a patient hunter, often foraging at night for fish, insects, and crustaceans along muddy riverbanks. Its eyes are high-set, perfect for peering out just above the waterline without giving away its position. And unlike saltwater crocodiles that bask boldly, the dwarf crocodile avoids exposure, preferring the thick cover of jungle or swamp. Even in captivity, it's an elusive creature. Zoos housing dwarf crocodiles report that they're unusually shy and prone to hiding, even when not threatened. But beneath the quiet exterior is a living fossil that's survived for millions of years. Fossil records show this lineage dates back to the Miocene era, and it has changed remarkably little since. Sadly, like many forest dwellers, it's now facing a series of challenges. Deforestation, hunting, and human encroachment have shrunk its habitat, and while it's still classified as vulnerable, populations are decreasing in some regions. Conservation groups have begun tracking these crocodiles with remote cameras and environmental DNA samples, hoping to understand their patterns before it's too late. Its small size may not impress at first glance, but don't underestimate it. The dwarf crocodile is one of the toughest survivors of the African rainforest, a hidden relic of ancient evolution that continues to glide silently through the shadows. On the islands of Cuba, a unique crocodile once ruled the wetlands, and it still does, though now in far fewer numbers. The Cuban crocodile is one of the rarest and most fascinating species alive today. Unlike most crocodiles, this one prefers fresh water and has evolved in remarkable isolation. It's a strong-jawed, long-legged predator known not just for ambush attacks, but for actually jumping. Yes, jumping crocodiles exist, and this is the one that perfected the art. Researchers have observed Cuban crocodiles propelling themselves almost entirely out of the water to snatch prey or grab food from branches. Their muscular hind limbs are more developed than in other species, a rare trait among modern crocodilians. These aren't just swamp dwellers, they're mobile, active hunters that have been around since Ice Age megafauna still roam the islands. Fossil evidence suggests Cuban crocodiles once preyed on large land animals, including giant ground sloths. Their powerful bite and unique teeth support this. While most crocodiles have uniform teeth, Cuban crocodiles have molar-like ones in the back, capable of crushing bone and shell. That combination of explosive speed, strength, and specialized dentition made them apex predators of their environment. Today, though, they're restricted to a few small areas, mainly the Zapata Swamp and Lanier Swamp. Fewer than 4,000 remain in the wild, and threats include habitat loss, invasive species, and hybridization with the American crocodile. Conservationists are racing to preserve their gene pool, using isolated breeding programs to avoid cross-species mixing. What makes the Cuban crocodile so intriguing isn't just its behavior. It's the sense that this animal comes from a forgotten age. A time when predators walked on land and didn't need stealth to rule. It's the closest thing we have to a land-hunting croc in the modern world, and its very existence is like a doorway back into the lost ecosystems of the past. Crocodiles aren't exactly known for their climbing skills. Most people picture them lurking in swamps, not perched in trees. But here's the twist: some of them do climb. Real, documented tree-climbing crocodiles exist, and researchers have caught them in the act from Africa to Australia. It's mostly juveniles that exhibit this behavior, but not exclusively. In Uganda's Nile River basin, multiple sightings confirmed young crocodiles resting on low branches above water, sometimes several feet off the ground. In parts of northern Australia, even saltwater crocodiles have been spotted perched on logs and leaning trees, sunbathing or watching their territory from above. Why would a crocodile do this? Theories include thermoregulation, getting warmth from the sun, better visibility, and even avoiding larger predators or humans. Their claws are surprisingly suited to gripping bark, and their powerful tails can help with balance. This behavior isn't just limited to certain species either. West Africa's slender-snouted crocodile and even some American alligators have shown the ability to climb, particularly in areas with overhanging riverbank trees. Photos taken by researchers show crocodilians calmly resting several feet off the ground, their eyes scanning the water below. It's unsettling and fascinating all at once, proof that nature never really fits into our neat little boxes. This ability isn't some evolutionary leftover, it's a sign of adaptability. As water levels change, human activity increases, and habitats shift, crocodiles continue to surprise us with how far they're willing to go. Literally. They're not just ancient relics stuck in their ways. They're observant, calculated, and ready to take the high ground, literally when it suits them. For years, the Siamese crocodile was a ghost, written off by scientists as extinct in the wild. Poaching, habitat destruction, and decades of human expansion across Southeast Asia had seemingly wiped it out. Then something remarkable happened. In a remote river in Cambodia's Cardamom Mountains, researchers stumbled upon a living population. Not a few individuals in captivity, but wild breeding crocodiles, where none were thought to exist. The Siamese crocodile isn't a giant like the Salty, but it's a striking animal. Males typically grow around 10 feet long and are easily identified by their broad, smooth snout and a relatively tame appearance compared to their more aggressive cousins. In fact, this species is known for being shy and non-confrontational, which might be one reason it slipped under the radar for so long. Local communities, particularly indigenous groups, played a huge role in the rediscovery. They'd known of the crocodile's presence for years but kept its location secret to protect it. Working with conservationists, they helped track and photograph the elusive reptiles, proving they were still out there. This collaboration sparked one of the most promising wildlife recovery projects in Southeast Asia. Now, conservation groups are breeding Siamese crocodiles in protected sanctuaries and slowly reintroducing them to secure areas in Cambodia and Laos. Still, fewer than 300 individuals are believed to survive in the wild. Their future depends on the protection of wetlands, which are being drained and converted faster than scientists can react. The story of the Siamese crocodile is more than a comeback. It's a reminder. Just because something disappears from view doesn't mean it's gone forever. Sometimes nature hides its most precious creatures in the hardest-to-reach corners of the earth, waiting for someone to notice. Long before crocodiles were feared as predators, they were worshipped as gods. In ancient Egypt, the Nile's powerful reptiles weren't just part of the landscape, they were sacred. The Egyptians believed that crocodiles were the living form of Sobek, the god of strength, protection, and fertility. And to honor them, they didn't just build temples, they mummified them. Tens of thousands of crocodile mummies have been found in burial sites across Egypt, from small hatchlings to fully grown adults wrapped in linen and sealed in elaborate tombs. At the Temple of Kam Ambo, dedicated in part to Sobek, archaeologists uncovered entire rooms filled with these preserved reptiles. Some were buried with amulets, others laid to rest in stone coffins, showing a level of reverence rarely given to animals in the ancient world. Many of these crocodiles were likely raised in temple pools, fed by priests, and eventually sacrificed and embalmed in religious ceremonies. CT scans of some mummies revealed surprising details. Some were stuffed with reeds or clay to hold their shape. Others showed signs of being wrapped after death rather than sacrificed. To the Egyptians, these crocodiles weren't monsters. They were guardians of the river, providers of fertility, and protectors of the pharaoh. Sobek himself was often depicted as a man with the crocodile head, wearing a crown of lotus flowers. His role in myths often involved healing and rebirth, fitting for a creature that emerged from water, the source of all life. Today, these mummies offer more than religious insight. They also help researchers study ancient environments, crocodile evolution, and even the embalming techniques of ancient Egypt. They remind us how humans have always been fascinated by these creatures, not just for their danger, but for their power and mystery. Crocodiles don't rely on luck when they hunt. They're equipped with some of the most finely tuned predator tools in the animal kingdom, natural gear that's been tested and perfected for over 200 million years. One look at a crocodile and you're staring at a cold-blooded, high-performance machine. Let's start with the eyes. Crocodiles have vertical pupils and a tapetum lucidum, the same reflective layer found in cats, that lets them see clearly in near-total darkness. When night falls, they become even more dangerous. Their eyes glow when caught in flashlight beams, a chilling detail that's not just for effect, it's built-in night vision. Now take a closer look at the bumps on their snouts. These aren't random. They're pressure sensors, part of a network called integumentary sensory organs. These tiny, highly sensitive pits can detect the slightest movement or ripple in the water, even if it's from a struggling fish several feet away. It's like a sixth sense. In total darkness or muddy rivers, crocodiles don't just rely on sight, they feel their prey. And then there's the bite. Saltwater crocodiles have been measured with a bite force of over 3,700 mpsi, stronger than lions, tigers, and even great white sharks. Their jaw muscles are designed for closing, not opening. That's why you can hold a croc's jaws shut with your hands. But there's no stopping the force once those jaws slam shut. Even their hearing is sharper than most expect. They can pick up low-frequency sounds, including vocal calls from hatchlings buried inside eggs. That's right. Mother crocs will dig up their nests when they hear babies chirping from beneath the sand. Everything about a crocodile is precision built for survival. It doesn't have to be the fastest or flashiest animal around. When you've got night vision, water radar skin, and a bone-cracking jaw, you don't need gimmicks. You just wait and strike. They may look similar at first glance. Long snouts, armored bodies, ancient eyes. But crocodiles and alligators are more different than people think. It's not just a matter of geography. These two reptiles are separated by millions of years of evolution. And once you know what to look for, you'll never confuse them again. Let's talk snouts. Alligators have broad, U-shaped snouts built like battering rams, perfect for crushing turtles and hard-shelled prey. Crocodiles, on the other hand, have longer V-shaped snouts that give them an edge in gripping fish and slicing through water with more precision. Then there's the smile. When a crocodile closes its mouth, the fourth tooth on each side of its lower jaw sticks out clearly. Alligators keep theirs hidden. It's a subtle feature, but once you notice it, it's impossible to unsee. Habitat is another clue. Alligators are mostly found in freshwater swamps and rivers in the southeastern United States and parts of China. Crocodiles are far more versatile. They can live in both fresh and saltwater and are found across Africa, Asia, Australia, and the Americas. Salt tolerance is a key difference. Crocodiles have special glands in their tongues to excrete salt, while alligators don't. Temperament? Crocodiles tend to be more aggressive and territorial. Alligators are often more reserved, though not to be underestimated. And color? Crocodiles usually have a lighter olive-brown hue with more patterned skin, while alligators are darker, often appearing nearly black in murky waters. Understanding these differences isn't just about trivia, it's about recognizing how evolution has shaped two incredible survivors in completely different ways. Whether it's the more calculated alligator or the bolder crocodile, both are masterworks of design, sharpened by time. They look like ghosts from a prehistoric world, glowing white scales, pinkish eyes, and an unsettling stillness. Albino crocodiles are among the rarest sights in the animal kingdom. Their striking appearance isn't a different species, but a genetic condition called albinism, where melanin, the pigment responsible for coloring skin and eyes, is missing. Without that natural camouflage, albino crocs are extremely vulnerable in the wild. Sunlight scorches their unprotected skin, and their pale appearance makes them easy targets for both predators and poachers. Because of this, almost all known albino crocodiles live in captivity, often under strict care in zoos and research centers. A few have become local legends. Visitors stare in awe at their ghostly elegance, unsure whether they're looking at something beautiful or unsettling. Despite their challenges, albino crocodiles behave much like their pigmented counterparts. They can grow just as large, bite just as hard, and live for decades. Some are bred in conservation programs not for release but for education, serving as living ambassadors of genetic diversity. They're often viewed as symbols in mythology and pop culture, representing purity, mystery, or even danger. One look at those pale, unblinking eyes, and it's easy to see why. Albino crocodiles don't just stand out, they haunt the imagination. Before lions ruled the savannah, before humans built cities, even before the first birds took flight, crocodiles were already here. These armored reptiles have stalked the Earth for over 200 million years, surviving asteroid impacts, ice ages, and the mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs. They've seen entire worlds rise and fall, yet they remain almost unchanged. What makes crocodiles so successful? Their bodies are built like ancient war machines, low-slung, heavily muscled, and perfectly adapted for ambush. Their sensory systems are precise. Their metabolism is efficient. They can go months without eating, regulate their temperature with near-perfect control, and survive in both freshwater and saltwater habitats. Fossils show that prehistoric crocodilians once walked on land, galloped like dogs, and reached sizes of over 30 feet. Some even hunted dinosaurs. Yet even today's crocs carry that legacy in their DNA. When you see one glide through murky water or lie motionless under the sun, you're looking at something time forgot to update. Scientists call them living fossils, but they're far from outdated. Crocodiles are not leftovers from a past age. They're survivors of it. Their success isn't in changing constantly, but in being so well designed that change hasn't been needed. In a world that keeps evolving, they simply endure. And that's what makes crocodiles truly incredible. Not just their power, not just their age, but the fact that they are still here, almost untouched by time, staring back at us with the same ancient eyes that once watched thunder lizards crash through jungles. They're the last of their kind, silent, patient, and still very much alive. Which fact about crocodiles surprised you the most? Write it in the comments. Next, I'll tell you about mutant animals, starting with those that have two heads. There's something instantly eerie about seeing an animal with two heads. Not in a fantasy movie, but right in front of you. Two sets of eyes, two mouths, and sometimes two completely different minds sharing a single body. One of the most unsettling examples is the two-headed cow, born in a European village and caught on camera standing on wobbly legs, both heads moving independently. This wasn't a prop or a special effect. It was real, and it confused even seasoned veterinarians. This condition is called bicephaly, and it happens when identical twins fail to fully split during development. Instead of becoming two separate animals, they form into one body with dual heads. In some cases, both brains work. That means each head has its own behavior trying to control the body at the same time. One might try to walk forward, the other wants to turn left. It's like having two drivers at one wheel. This isn't limited to cows. In the United States, a two-headed rat snake became a media sensation when it was found in someone's backyard. Both heads were alive, flicking their tongues and even trying to eat, sometimes fighting over the same prey. The snake was taken to a wildlife center where experts studied how the two brains tried to coordinate, or sometimes didn't. Scientists have documented bicephaly in turtles, fish, even sharks. It's rare but not unheard of. And while these animals often need care to survive, what makes them so shocking is how familiar yet alien they look. You don't need sound effects or spooky music. Just a still photo of a two-headed animal is enough to hold your attention. Because when nature glitches like this, it creates creatures that are hard to look away from. In a small village in India, locals gathered in shock around a newborn goat that looked like nothing they had ever seen. Its eyes were front-facing, its face unusually flat, and its mouth seemed oddly shaped, more like a person than an animal. It wasn't just a passing resemblance. The goat's facial features were so distorted that many villagers believed it was supernatural. Photos of the animal spread across social media, and quickly, the world was watching. This strange appearance came from a rare developmental condition called craniofacial duplication, or in more general terms, a severe facial malformation. It happens when something disrupts the normal growth of the skull and jaw during early development. The results can be extreme: shortened snouts, underdeveloped nasal bones, and in this case, a face that no longer looked goat-like at all. Some people linked the mutation to environmental toxins or poor nutrition in the mother goat during pregnancy. Others believed it was a sign or a message. Scientists, however, focused on the biological causes, mutations in the genes that guide facial structure or physical disruptions in the womb. It's rare, but it's real. Similar cases have been documented in other animals, including pigs, calves, and even cats. Despite how unsettling it looked, the goat became the center of attention in the village. Some treated it with curiosity, others with reverence. But once the shock passed, what remained was a reminder of just how unpredictable animal development can be. In this case, nature didn't just take a wrong turn, it rewrote the entire map of the face. Off the coast of Mexico's Baja California, fishermen were pulling in a catch when they noticed something bizarre inside a pregnant, dusky shark they had caught. Among the unborn pups was a small white fetus with one large eye centered in the middle of its head. No tricks, no editing. It was a real cyclops shark, preserved in its fetal form and unlike anything most people have ever seen in real life. This condition is called cyclopia, and it's one of the rarest and most extreme mutations in the animal world. It happens when the two eye fields fail to separate during development, leading to a single central eye socket. In many cases, this is paired with other deformities like a shortened snout or misaligned brain structures. It's a condition so rare that most cases are never even observed, especially not in sharks. Marine biologists who studied the specimen confirmed its authenticity and examined the tissue structure in detail. The shark's eye wasn't simply misplaced. It was a fully developed centralized eye, consistent with cyclopia observed in other animals. The skin lacked normal pigmentation, and the underdeveloped body showed that the mutation had affected more than just the face. What makes this case so haunting is that sharks are ancient animals, survivors of millions of years of evolution. And yet, even they aren't immune to dramatic developmental errors. The photo of that single unblinking eye staring straight ahead made waves online for a reason. It wasn't just strange, it was nature showing us how even the most resilient creatures can sometimes break their own rules. In the quiet ponds of Minnesota, something strange started happening. Kids and teachers began finding frogs with extra legs, 6, 7, even 8 in some cases. At first, people thought it was a fluke, but then it kept happening. Frogs were hopping around with legs sticking out of their backs, their sides, or growing twisted into knots. Some even had missing eyes or jaws. This wasn't fiction, it was a real biological mystery. Scientists rushed in to study the bizarre amphibians and found multiple possible culprits. One was a tiny flatworm parasite called Ribiroia ondatrae, which infects tadpoles and disturbs how their limbs form. Infected frogs often end up with extra legs in the wrong places. But that wasn't the only explanation. Researchers also pointed to chemical runoff from nearby farms, including fertilizers and pesticides, leaking into the water and messing with the frogs' development. The combination of parasites and pollutants created the perfect storm for mutations. Frogs are known as indicator species. When something's wrong in the environment, they're usually the first to show it. Their thin skin absorbs chemicals easily and their development happens fast, making deformities show up within weeks. In this case, the 8-legged frogs weren't just weird to look at, they were a red flag. Photos of the frogs began circulating, and people around the world were stunned by how surreal they looked. Legs where there shouldn't be any, movements that didn't make sense. Nature in these quiet ponds had gone off script, and the result was a generation of frogs that looked more like creatures from a horror film than anything from a biology book. When a piglet was born on a rural Chinese farm, the farmer did a double take. Instead of a normal snout, the piglet had what looked like a short trunk, curling slightly and ending in an unusual opening. Its eyes were too far apart, and its skull looked wider than it should have been. The creature resembled something between a pig and a baby elephant, and it quickly became an internet sensation. The cause? Experts say this kind of deformity likely stems from maxillofacial developmental issues, a disruption in the early formation of the skull, jaw, and nasal cavity. In severe cases, the nose and upper lip fuse or stretch in abnormal ways, creating a face that looks like it doesn't belong on the animal at all. These types of mutations can be triggered by genetic errors, environmental stress, or nutritional deficiencies during pregnancy. This wasn't an isolated case. Similar elephant pigs have been reported in other parts of the world over the years. In most cases, the mutation creates a snout that's either elongated like a trunk or flattened entirely. What makes the Chinese case stand out is the clear trunk-like structure and the fact that it was born alive and photographed clearly. People reacted with a mix of shock and curiosity. Some saw it as a warning from nature, others simply as a biological glitch. But one thing was certain, the piglet didn't look like anything you'd expect from a typical barnyard. It looked like something out of a dream, or maybe a nightmare. Another strange reminder that even in the most familiar places, nature still has surprises up its sleeve. In Massachusetts, a cat was born with one of the rarest conditions ever recorded: 2 faces on one head. Its name was Frank and Louie, and what made it truly extraordinary wasn't just the way it looked, it was how long it lived. Most animals with this kind of condition, known as diprosopis or Janus syndrome, survive only a few hours or days. But Frank and Louie lived for over 15 years, setting a world record and astonishing everyone who met him. The cat had 2 noses, 2 mouths, and 3 eyes, but only 1 brain. That meant the 2 faces weren't 2 minds sharing a body. They were one cat with extra features functioning mostly through one side. Only one mouth was connected to the throat, and the central eye never blinked. Despite this, Frank and Louie moved, purred, and behaved like any other cat. This mutation happens when a key gene that controls facial development goes into overdrive, accidentally copying facial features during early growth in the womb. It doesn't create a second personality or split awareness, it just duplicates the structure. The result is a face that looks surreal, like something out of a digital illusion, but it's very real and has been documented in cats, pigs, and even some reptiles. What made Frank and Louie stand out wasn't just the way he looked, it was how healthy he was. Raised by a veterinary nurse who refused to give up on him, he lived a full life, calmly sitting in laps and even visiting universities as a teaching example. People were amazed not only by his appearance, but by how peaceful and normal he seemed. Frank and Louie became proof that even the most extreme mutations don't always mean short lives. Sometimes nature makes something completely unexpected, and it turns out just fine. In a small mountain village in Macedonia, farmers were stunned by the birth of a lamb with one single eye placed right in the center of its forehead. It looked like something out of ancient mythology, a real-life cyclops. The eye blinked, moved, and stared forward with eerie clarity. There was no separation into left and right, just one enormous socket dominating the face. This condition is known as cyclopia, a rare developmental anomaly where the embryo fails to divide the eye field into 2. It's typically associated with other facial deformities, including missing nasal bones and underdeveloped jaws. In this case, the lamb's upper skull had fused incorrectly, creating a round, dome-like forehead and that singular functional eye. Scientists believe cyclopia is usually caused by a genetic mutation or environmental disruption during very early stages of pregnancy. In some parts of the world, exposure to certain plants, minerals, or toxins can interfere with the proteins that guide brain and facial development. In livestock, this has occasionally been linked to specific herbs growing in grazing areas. Locals were both fascinated and unsettled by the lamb. While it didn't survive long, it was carefully photographed and examined. The photos continue to circulate online and in veterinary journals because cyclopia is so rarely observed in such a clear form. Seeing it in person is jarring, an animal that breaks all expectations of symmetry and structure. The creature's face doesn't look scary in the horror sense. It's the calm, quiet strangeness that stays with you. The gaze of one eye doing the job meant for 2. The soft wool surrounding a face that doesn't seem to belong in this world. Moments like this show just how wide the range of life really is, even when nature takes a wrong turn. In the murky waters of the American South, gators are known for their stealth, strength, and armor-like skin. But among thousands of their dark-scaled cousins, a few stand out like ghosts. These are albino alligators, snow-white reptiles with pinkish eyes, cream-colored skin, and a look that seems too unreal for the wild. They're extremely rare, with only a handful known to exist in the world. Albinism in animals is caused by a genetic mutation that blocks the production of melanin, the pigment responsible for skin, hair, and eye color. Without it, the alligator's tough exterior turns pale, almost glowing in sunlight. But that pale color comes with a cost. Albino alligators have high sensitivity to UV light, meaning they can't survive in the open swamp without shelter. That's why nearly all of them live in special wildlife parks or controlled environments where their sensitive skin and eyes can be protected. Despite their appearance, these alligators are genetically the same as their darker relatives. They still grow up to 13 feet long. They still have powerful jaws. And they still behave like apex predators. It's just their appearance that makes them seem like creatures from another world, something between a dinosaur and a ghost. Seeing one up close is an experience people don't forget. It looks like a statue at first, still pale and silent. But when it blinks or moves, there's no mistaking it for anything other than alive. In a world where most mutations go unnoticed, the albino alligator is impossible to ignore. It stands out not because it tries, but because nature removed the one thing that kept it hidden: its color. High in the rainforests of Central and South America lives a frog so strange, it seems like it belongs in a lab more than the jungle. Known as the glass frog, this tiny amphibian has skin so transparent, you can see its beating heart, stomach, liver, and even eggs, right through its belly. From the top it looks like an ordinary green frog, but flip it over and it's like looking through glass. This strange transparency isn't a one-off defect. It's a natural genetic trait that evolved over time, likely to help the frog avoid predators. By blending into leaves and letting background colors show through its body, it becomes harder to spot. Researchers believe this may act like a camouflage system. Still, the level of visibility is incredible. Some species are so clear you can track blood moving through their veins with the naked eye. Scientists have studied glass frogs not only for their behavior, but also for what their bodies reveal. The way their organs are arranged, how their muscles move, everything is on display without dissection. In fact, in recent years, researchers discovered that some species can temporarily hide their red blood cells to reduce their visibility even more while sleeping. Despite their fragile look, glass frogs are hardy survivors. They lay their eggs on the undersides of leaves above rivers, and when the tadpoles hatch, they drop straight into the water below. Nature gave them one of the strangest adaptations seen in amphibians, a body that doesn't hide what's inside, but uses it as a survival tool. It's equal parts creepy, fascinating, and beautiful. On a beach near Dakili, Turkey, a man walking along the shore noticed something unusual washed up with the tide. At first, it looked like a single dolphin, but as he got closer, the truth became clear. It was a pair of conjoined dolphin calves, still intact, joined at the body and sharing a lower half. 2 heads, 2 dorsal fins, and 1 fused tail. The sight was honestly pretty eerie, and photos of the dolphins quickly spread around the world. This is one of the very few documented cases of conjoined twins in marine mammals. The condition happens when an embryo begins to split into identical twins, but doesn't complete the process. Instead, the twins stay partially joined, sometimes sharing vital organs or limbs. In this case, the dolphins appeared to have developed almost entirely before birth, but their shared structure meant they wouldn't have been able to survive in the wild. Marine biologists took the specimen for further study, eager to understand how such a rare event could happen in such intelligent animals. While conjoined twins have been documented in land mammals, reptiles, and birds, they're extremely uncommon in the ocean. Dolphins are complex creatures with long gestation periods and careful development, so a mutation like this really stands out. What made the case so haunting was how human the dolphins seemed. 2 faces turned upward, locked in place, as if frozen mid-swim. It felt less like a science discovery and more like something from a surreal dream. Yet it was real, caught on camera, and studied closely. Even in a world as vast as the ocean, nature sometimes folds in on itself, creating forms that seem too strange to believe until they wash up right at our feet. In rural parts of the United States, especially in the South and Midwest, people have reported seeing strange, hairless creatures creeping around their barns and fields. At night, they look like skeletal dogs or oversized rats. But when photos are taken and experts get involved, the mystery often points to one culprit: hairless raccoons. These raccoons aren't a new species or an unknown predator. They're usually suffering from a severe case of sarcoptic mange, a skin condition caused by microscopic mites. The mites burrow under the skin, causing intense irritation and eventually making the fur fall out. What's left is a grayish, wrinkled animal with thickened skin, sharp claws, and an appearance that looks completely unnatural. Because of their odd look, these raccoons have often been mistaken for mythical creatures, like the chupacabra. In fact, several viral monster sightings over the past decade turned out to be just this sick, bald raccoon seen under poor lighting. However, in rare cases, some raccoons are born with genetic conditions that prevent normal hair growth, making them look similar even without mange. What makes these animals so disturbing is how familiar and unfamiliar they are at the same time. Their body shape gives away their species, but the lack of fur, enlarged facial features, and bare tails make them look almost alien. Wildlife experts have used these sightings as reminders of how common diseases can produce creatures that seem anything but natural. So next time someone swears they saw a monster in the woods, there's a good chance it was a raccoon. Just one that's lost all its camouflage, leaving behind something strange, real, and unforgettable. At first glance, they look like something out of a sci-fi video game. Rabbits glowing green zebrafish lighting up in bright neon colors and pigs that shimmer under blacklight. But these aren't fantasy creatures. They're real animals, created through genetic engineering by inserting fluorescent genes from jellyfish or coral into embryos. What began as a scientific tool has since become a controversial blend of biology and spectacle. Originally, researchers developed glow-in-the-dark animals to track diseases, gene expression, and cell behavior. It was never about making pets that glow. It was about studying biology in a new, highly visible way. For example, glowfish, the glowing zebrafish now sold in pet stores, were first created to help detect pollutants in water. Their bodies would literally light up in the presence of certain toxins. But when the glowing trait proved harmless, companies saw an opportunity, and glowing pets hit the market. Today, these fish are bred in bright red, green, blue, and purple variations, and they've become wildly popular. Still, some scientists have raised ethical concerns. What happens if genetically altered animals are released into the wild? How do they affect ecosystems? In some cases, these bright colors make them easier prey and unable to blend into their surroundings. Whether you see them as marvels of modern science or creatures that never should have existed, one thing's certain glow-in-the-dark animals are proof that we now have the power to alter life in ways nature never intended. And once something glows under a blacklight, it's hard to forget. Lizards are famous for their survival trick, dropping their tails to escape predators. But sometimes, when the tail grows back, something unusual happens. Instead of one tail, two appear. It's called bifurcated tail regeneration, and it turns a normal lizard into a double-tailed oddity. This phenomenon usually occurs when the original tail doesn't break cleanly, or when multiple growth points activate during the healing process. The result is two full-length tails sprouting from the base, or sometimes even three. They're not cosmetic. They wiggle and twitch just like a normal tail. But they can throw off the lizard's balance, making movement awkward and climbing more difficult. Cases have been spotted worldwide, from Arizona deserts to Brazilian rainforests. These aren't sick animals, they're just strange-looking survivors. In some cases, the extra tail gives the lizard a weird advantage if attacked again. It has more parts to shed. Still, it's not all upside. The extra tails are often heavier and can lead to spinal strain or energy loss over time. In the wild, that can mean slower reaction times or less efficient movement. But as nature's glitches go, this one is more curious than dangerous. A two-tailed lizard may not know it's different, but it sure looks like something designed for a fantasy game. In Lake Champlain, New York, an angler reeled in something bizarre. A fish with two mouths. Not a split jaw or a scar, but two separate openings, one below the other, both fully formed. The fish was a lake trout, a common species in the region, but there was nothing common about its face. The photos spread online instantly, drawing speculation and disbelief. Biologists weighed in and explained that such deformities could be caused by injuries during early development, possibly from mechanical equipment in hatcheries or from entanglement with debris. Another possibility is a developmental error during jaw formation, where cartilage and bone growth don't align properly. Either way, both mouths were functional, and that was the most puzzling part. What made this case stand out wasn't just the mutation, but how normal the fish's behavior seemed. It swam, bit the line, and resisted capture just like any other trout. The angler who caught it released it back into the lake, but the photo remains a staple in fishing circles and biology blogs alike. Whether it was caused by environment, genetics, or sheer bad luck, the two-mouthed trout reminds us how strange and unpredictable aquatic life can get. One body, two mouths, and 1,000 questions still unanswered. If you ever thought seaweed could come to life and float away, you're not entirely wrong. Meet the leafy sea dragon, an animal so strange, even marine biologists had to double-check it wasn't a prank. Found along the southern coast of Australia, this creature looks like something out of a fantasy game. It's a relative of the seahorse, but unlike its upright cousin, the leafy sea dragon is covered in leaf-like flaps that make it almost invisible underwater. It doesn't use these leafy extensions to swim, they're just camouflage. The actual swimming is handled by tiny fins that beat so fast they're nearly invisible. What makes it truly baffling is how perfectly it blends into its surroundings. In the world of ocean predators and prey, this creature's best weapon is looking like it belongs nowhere. It drifts slowly, rocking gently like a piece of seaweed, making it nearly impossible to spot unless you're trained to look for it. And even then, good luck. Here's the kicker. Leafy sea dragons don't have teeth or stomachs. They suck in tiny shrimp and plankton through a long, straw-like snout and digest them slowly. They're delicate, hard to keep in captivity, and only found in a very limited part of the world. That's part of what makes them feel so out of place, like a creature from a studio animation that accidentally got coded into the real world. There's also the fact that the males, not the females, carry the eggs. After a strange courtship dance, the female lays her eggs on a special patch on the male's tail, and he keeps them safe until they hatch. If that reminds you of seahorses, you're spot on, but in the leafy sea dragon's case, the whole process looks like a graceful underwater ballet. You won't find them darting around or doing tricks. Their elegance is in their stillness. In a world that moves fast, this creature just floats. And somehow that's its survival strategy. It's hard not to stare when you see one. It doesn't look like a fish. It doesn't move like a fish. In fact, it barely looks real. This animal looks like it was sketched by someone half asleep and half dreaming. The pink fairy armadillo is real, and yes, it's exactly as bizarre as it sounds. It's the smallest species of armadillo in the world, only about 5 inches long, and it lives almost its entire life underground in the dry plains of central Argentina. What sets it apart immediately is the soft, pink shell on its back. It doesn't just look unusual, it actually helps regulate body temperature by circulating blood close to the surface, giving it that pink flush. Weirdly useful and weirdly adorable. This tiny digger is built like a strange hybrid between a hamster, a mole, and a fortune cookie. Its front claws are massive compared to its body and are made for digging with speed and precision. It can vanish into soft soil in seconds. Its body is covered in silky, pale fur, and it moves through the ground like it's swimming through sand. Unlike its armored cousins, the pink fairy armadillo has a shell that's not fully attached to its body. It's more like a flexible plate hovering over its back. Spotting one in the wild is almost impossible. They're nocturnal, elusive, and sensitive to environmental changes. When researchers do get a glimpse, it's always a big deal. Most of what we know comes from rare moments of observation. Despite its soft look, this creature is tough adapted to survive underground, where temperatures shift and predators can't reach. You could scroll through thousands of images of desert animals and never spot anything like it. The pink fairy armadillo doesn't look like it evolved here. It looks like it wandered in from a lost fantasy world. It has no close rival in appearance, no lookalike in any other ecosystem. And every time you see it, you're left wondering, how can something this odd be real? This creature looks like it just stepped off the set of Jurassic Park. It's big, muscular, and has claws that could carve up tree bark in seconds. Some call it the dinosaur lizard, but scientists know it as a type of monitor lizard, possibly a black-throated monitor or a massive savanna monitor. Either way, it's one of the most prehistoric-looking animals still walking the earth today. What shocks most people first is the sheer size. These lizards can grow over 5 feet long and weigh more than 50 pounds. Their tails are muscular and whip-like, their claws curve like meat hooks, and their thick skin is covered in rough, bumpy scales. When you see one up close, there's no mistaking the ancient vibe. It feels like it never got the memo that dinosaurs were supposed to go extinct. These reptiles aren't just for show. They're powerful diggers and climbers, and they can move fast when they want to. They use their forked tongues like snakes, flicking the air to detect scent trails. And while they're not aggressive without reason, their bite is something no one wants to experience. It's not just the force, it's the bacteria too. Like their cousin the Komodo dragon, their mouths can deliver a nasty infection. Incredibly, people do keep these lizards as exotic pets, but they're nothing like geckos or chameleons. These are animals that need space, heat, and respect. And when you look into their eyes, there's a feeling that you're staring into something ancient, something that hasn't changed much since the age of giant reptiles. The dinosaur lizard isn't just a cool nickname. It's a reminder that some creatures didn't disappear with the meteors. They just adapted, survived, and kept walking slowly, powerfully, and always just a little bit out of place in the modern world. There's a bird out there that doesn't fly much, doesn't move much, and when it does, watch out. The shoebill stork looks like a creature straight out of the Mesozoic era. Standing up to 5 feet tall with a massive shoe-shaped bill, it doesn't just look prehistoric, it acts the part too. Its glare alone is enough to stop you in your tracks. And then there's the sound. Not a chirp, not a caw, but a deep, guttural hiss. Some even say it sounds like an old generator struggling to start. The shoebill doesn't flap around like most birds. It moves in slow, calculated motions, like a reptile that just happens to have feathers. It hunts by standing completely still in swampy waters, then lunging at lightning speed to snatch fish, frogs, and even baby crocodiles. That giant bill? It isn't just for show. It has sharp edges and a powerful grip, turning this bird into a quiet swamp predator. You'll find them in the wetlands of Central Africa, mostly in Sudan and Zambia, where they're both feared and respected. Locals used to believe they were bad omens, and you can't really blame them. With those piercing yellow eyes and that weird mechanical behavior, the shoebill doesn't look like it belongs in the same category as ducks and pigeons. Even scientists were confused when it was first classified. Is it a stork? A pelican? Some sort of feathered crocodile impersonator? Turns out it's in its own group entirely. It doesn't quite fit anywhere, and maybe that's the point. In a world of brightly colored parrots and social penguins, the shoebill is something else entirely. It's slow, strange, and undeniably fascinating, like a bird from another timeline that somehow wandered into ours. The first time European scientists saw a preserved platypus in the 18th century, they thought it was a joke. They assumed someone had stitched together parts of other animals, a beaver's tail, a duck's bill, webbed feet, and fur. But it wasn't a hoax. The platypus is real, and it's even weirder alive than it is on paper. Found only in eastern Australia and Tasmania, this animal breaks so many biological rules that it has its own playbook. It's a mammal, but it lays eggs. It has no stomach. It has fur but spends most of its time swimming. And get this, the males have venomous spurs on their hind legs, capable of delivering a sting that can cause serious pain. That's right, a venomous mammal. Then there's the bill. It looks like a duck's, but it's more like a sixth sense. Packed with electroreceptors, it can detect the electric signals from prey hiding in the mud. That means the platypus can hunt with its eyes, ears, and nostrils completely shut. It swims with its front legs like a frog and steers with its tail, like a sea otter that went through a glitchy character generator. And when it comes to reproduction, it throws another curveball. The female lays eggs and then nurses the hatchlings with milk, except she doesn't have nipples. The milk oozes through pores in her skin, and the babies lap it up straight from her fur. It's part mammal, part reptile, part aquatic anomaly. And no one's entirely sure why it evolved this way. The platypus is a reminder that evolution doesn't care about categories. It just cares about what works. And somehow, this oddball design works beautifully. Let's talk about the naked mole rat, an animal so strange it breaks almost every rule in the mammal manual. It's hairless, nearly blind, and lives in total darkness. It looks like a cross between a hot dog and a set of dentures. But under that odd exterior hides a creature that's doing things no other mammal can. First off, naked mole rats live in colonies more like bees or ants than other mammals. They have a queen, worker classes, and even guards. Only one female reproduces while the others dig, clean, and defend the tunnels. That kind of structure is incredibly rare outside the insect world, and it's been puzzling scientists for years. Then there's their biology. Naked mole rats are almost completely immune to cancer. Studies show their cells behave in ways that prevent tumors from ever forming. And as if that wasn't enough, they also feel very little pain, especially from acid or heat. Their nerves just don't fire the same way as ours. They're basically built for extreme underground survival. They can also live with barely any oxygen. In conditions that would knock out most mammals in minutes, naked mole rats keep crawling like nothing happened. Their metabolism slows down and they switch to a kind of backup energy system. That's why researchers keep studying them, because this wrinkled, toothy creature might hold clues to things like aging and disease resistance. Despite all this, they're social animals. They communicate with squeaks and chirps, maintain organized tunnels, and even greet each other with nose touches. It's strange to think that something so unglamorous could be so advanced. But maybe that's why they don't fit in. They're built for a world we can't see, doing things we're still trying to understand. In a lab or on camera, they might look like living fossils, but inside, they're running on some of nature's most advanced programming. The axolotl is the kind of creature that looks made up, but it's 100% real. Found only in the ancient lakes beneath Mexico City, this amphibian has one strange superpower. It never grows up, literally. Unlike most salamanders that transform from aquatic larvae into land-walking adults, the axolotl skips the whole growing up phase. It stays in its baby form forever, keeping its gills, aquatic tail, and wide, curious eyes. And yet it can do things that no fully grown amphibian can. Lose a leg? It grows back. Lose part of its spine? It regenerates that too. Scientists have even observed axolotls regrowing parts of their brains. That's not science fiction, it's biology. Its cells seem to have a reset button that humans can only dream of. With its feathery gills, soft smile, and translucent skin, it almost looks animated. But this creature is no cartoon. The axolotl has been a symbol of Mexican culture for centuries and is currently under serious threat due to habitat loss and water pollution. Still, it thrives in labs around the world because of its unique ability to regenerate and stay youthful. What really makes it feel like it doesn't belong is that it breaks the rules of evolution. It doesn't morph. It doesn't age the same way. It just floats there with its gills waving like a creature from a calm alien world. For scientists, it's a living mystery. For the rest of us, it's one of the coolest, strangest things swimming on this planet. If you were to glance at the Umbonia spinosa sitting on a branch, you'd probably mistake it for a tiny thorn or a strange plant bud. That's the idea. This bug evolved to look completely inedible and totally unrecognizable. It's small, but once you spot one, it's hard to stop staring. With a bright green body, tiny legs, and a giant spike sticking straight out of its back, it looks like a piece of a cactus that decided to walk off and do its own thing. Scientists still don't fully understand why the thorn bug evolved this way. That huge horn doesn't seem to help it fly, fight, or mate. It just sits there, towering over its body like a bad fashion choice. But for predators, it works. Most birds avoid sharp things, and this bug takes advantage of that fear by pretending to be a plant's worst splinter. And it gets weirder. Umbonia spinosa bugs communicate using vibrations sent through plant stems. No squeaks, no chirps, just silent pulses that other thorn bugs can feel. It's a communication system that works like hidden radio signals in the wood. They gather in groups, cling to twigs, and just hang there like strange living decorations. No wings flapping, no obvious movements, just a row of spiked dots guarding their eggs in almost complete silence. They're not flashy or fast, they're just deeply strange, and that's what makes them unforgettable. You're not hallucinating. That fish really does look like it's wearing lipstick. The red-lipped batfish is one of the strangest looking creatures in the ocean, and its face alone is enough to make you pause. But its appearance is only the beginning. This fish lives off the coast of the Galapagos Islands and has one major problem: it can barely swim. Instead of gliding gracefully through water like most fish, the batfish walks. It uses its fins like awkward legs to shuffle across the ocean floor. Add that to its bright red lips, flattened body, and oddly serious expression, and you get something that looks like a background character from a surreal underwater movie. So what are the lips for? Scientists still aren't entirely sure. The most accepted idea is that the lips help with mating. They stand out in the dark waters and may act like a signal or a lure. The batfish also has a small lure on its head to attract prey, like a mini fishing rod built into its face. But it's not the hunting or the looks that make this fish feel so out of place. It's the movement. Watching it walk clumsily along the seafloor feels like watching evolution halfway through an update. It's as if nature got distracted and left this little guy to figure things out for itself. The result is a fish that looks like it's doing cosplay and moving like it forgot it's supposed to swim. Deep under the ocean, where sunlight never reaches and temperatures hover near boiling, lives a crab that looks like it belongs in a myth. The Yeti crab, named for its shaggy white arms, is one of the most unexpected creatures ever found near hydrothermal vents. Its fuzzy claws look more like winter mittens than body parts, and that's just the beginning of its odd behavior. Those hairs aren't just for show. They actually grow bacteria that the crab uses for food. That's right, the Yeti crab farms its meals right on its own arms. It waves them gently in the chemical-rich water, encouraging the bacteria to grow, then scrapes them off to eat. It's basically a walking buffet. You won't find this crab near beaches or coral reefs. It lives miles deep, clinging to rocks near superheated vents that spew out boiling, mineral-rich fluids. Temperatures nearby can reach hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit, yet the Yeti crab thrives in this extreme environment where most life wouldn't last more than a minute. And while it's small, about the size of a human hand, it looks like something from a sci-fi movie. Its ghost white body, glowing surroundings, and fuzzy limbs give it an alien feel. No eyes, no shell polish, no interest in human contact. Just a quiet, crawling survivor at the bottom of the planet. It's another reminder that while we're busy looking to space for signs of strange life, Earth is still full of creatures that feel like they shouldn't be real, but definitely are. The first time you see a saiga antelope, like your brain might glitch. It's not a Photoshop trick. That massive downturned nose is completely real. It looks like something out of a science fiction show, maybe something that wandered off the set of Star Wars. But this isn't a fictional creature. The saiga is very real and very ancient. It's a true Ice Age survivor that used to roam with mammoths and saber-toothed cats. That strange nose isn't just for looks, it's a built-in air filter. In the summer, it helps cool the hot, dusty air before it reaches the lungs. In the winter, it warms freezing air before it gets inside the body. It's a full-time climate control system stuck right to the front of its face. It might look strange to us, but it's a brilliant piece of natural engineering. The saiga's body is built for speed. It can run up to 50 miles per hour across the vast open steppes of Central Asia. Its thin legs and lightweight frame help it escape predators, but its true defense has always been numbers massive herds once filled the grasslands. These days, though, those herds are much smaller. Even though the saiga has lasted for thousands of years, modern challenges like habitat loss and disease have pushed it closer to the edge. Still, it remains one of the most unforgettable animals on Earth. You look at it once and never forget it. That nose, those eyes, that prehistoric energy. The saiga seems like a leftover from another time, one that just barely made it to ours. At first glance, the glass frog doesn't look that different from other small tree-dwelling frogs. It's lime green, about the size of a grape, and blends perfectly with the leaves around it. But then you turn it over and things get wild. Its belly is completely transparent. You can see its heart beating, its lungs filling, even its stomach digesting. There's no skin pigment on the underside of the glass frog. It's like nature decided to make a frog out of jelly. Scientists think this transparency might act as a kind of camouflage, helping it break up its silhouette when light shines from above. Instead of hiding like a shadow, it becomes part of the leaf. Found in the rainforests of Central and South America, glass frogs spend their lives high up in the canopy, sticking to leaves and staying mostly out of sight. When it comes to raising the next generation, though, the males take charge. They guard the eggs laid on leaves above streams, fending off other frogs and keeping the clutch moist by pressing their bellies against them. It's rare to find a creature that feels both delicate and otherworldly, but the glass frog pulls it off. It's not just its looks. It's the fact that you can literally see life happening inside it. No X-rays, no scans. Just nature doing its thing, completely visible right through the skin. If you were wandering through the forest of Madagascar at night and saw glowing eyes and spindly fingers creeping along a branch, you'd probably freeze. The eye is one of the strangest primates on the planet, and easily one of the most misunderstood. With its shaggy fur, giant ears, and long skeletal middle finger, it's been mistaken for a bad omen for centuries. But the eye isn't evil, it's just weird and genius. That creepy finger is its secret tool. The eye taps on trees, listening for hollow spaces where insect larvae might be hiding. When it hears one, it uses its sharp teeth to gnaw into the wood, then slips that long finger inside to fish out the snack. It's the only primate known to hunt like this, a method more like a woodpecker than a monkey. Its eyes are locked forward like a predator's, giving it amazing depth perception. Its ears are oversized satellite dishes, picking up even the tiniest sounds. And its finger? Thin as a twig and double-jointed. The AEI is basically a living toolkit, custom-built for nighttime bug hunting. Because of its looks, the AEI has often been unfairly feared. But once you learn how it works, you realize it's not scary, it's brilliant. It's what happens when evolution solves a problem in the most unexpected way possible. This tiny creature from Madagascar looks like someone crossed a hedgehog with a highlighter. The lowland streaked tenrec is covered in black and yellow quills and sports a long, pointed snout, perfect for rooting around in the dirt. But it's what those quills do that sets it apart from every other mammal on Earth. When threatened or looking to communicate, the tenrec rubs special quills together to create a high-pitched sound. It's not a vocal call, it's not a grunt or a squeak. It's called stridulation, the same technique used by crickets. This little mammal is literally playing music with its back. No other mammal is known to do this. It uses those sounds to warn others, to stay in touch with its group, and possibly to avoid danger in the dense forest underbrush. And while it may look prickly, those bright warning stripes and sharp sounds are all part of a strategy to say, "Don't mess with me." The tenrec also has a low body temperature and barely feels pain, traits it shares with another animal on this list, the naked mole rat. That combo, along with its visual flair and sound-based communication, makes the lowland streaked tenrec feel like a character from an animated jungle world. It may be small, but it's packed with features you wouldn't expect from a mammal, or even from an animal at all. It's a walking contradiction, and that's what makes it unforgettable. Deep in the blackness of the Pacific lives a fish with a see-through head. The barrel-eyed tubular eyes point straight up through its clear skull, letting it spot prey above while staying nearly motionless. When needed, those eyes rotate forward, like submarine periscopes. Its glowing green lenses cut through darkness, and its entire face looks like it belongs in a sci-fi lab. It doesn't swim fast, it doesn't chase, it just watches. And somehow that's enough to survive. That's about it. Which animal surprised you the most? Write in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos.